All right, so let's go ahead and start with our European history notes. I am aware you guys are pretty happy about this DLD and not going to school, but that also means extra notes for your review. So this review is going to be quite long, but it is important and it's going to be a hard test. So make sure you're watching this video carefully. If you have a notebook or just a paper sitting next to you, grab it so that you can write down some notes, things that you don't know. Let's go ahead and dive. To start with, we're going to go over the history timeline real quick. 1914 is when World War One began. That is the first thing that we learned. But we really learned about what happened after World War One, right? So we talked about how 1917, Russian Revolution, and was the creation of Soviet Union and the communism. And 1918, World War One end. When 1919 Treaty of Versailles was signed, which we're going to talk more about. 1929 United States stock market crash, which resulted in worldwide depression. 1932 to 1933, that was prime Hitler days when Nazi took control over Germany and the Holocaust was a thing. In 1939, World War II begins. In 1945, World War II ends and Cold War began, which two superpower decides to fight over, and Germany becomes to divide. 1961, Berlin Wall was built by Soviet Union. 1989, Berlin Wall falls. 1990, Germany reunited into one country. And 1991, Soviet Union collapsed, and that was end of the Cold War. I would pause this and write down the timeline at this time so that you understand the first and the end of this history timeline. All right? So we're going to start with Treaty of Versailles, actually, instead of Russian Revolution. But let's go. So Treaty of Versailles ended World War One, and it was signed by the Allied powers, United States, France, and Britain. And of course, Germany had to sign it because they were the loser of this World War One. Now, France was really the one, but France forced Germany to do this fourth term, which really made German anger. First was the fact that Germany had to accept blame for World War One, and second is the fact that Germany lost 1 million square miles of land, and third, Germany had to pay $33 billion in reparation, and lastly, Germany had to limit armed force and stop production of war material. And of course, France wanted Germany punished because so much destruction was done in France, their neighbor country. But United States and UK was concerned that you guys are doing too much. This might lead to another war. When you bully somebody down to the neck, they might rise up and cause another disruption. Now, we're going to actually change country real quick, and we're going to travel to Russia. And we're going to talk about Russian Revolution. Russian Revolution was when Tsar Nicholas II became the Tsar of Russia, which he is known to be the last Tsar of Russia. So under Tsar Nicholas' rule, you had two classes. The rich people who had all the power and was controlling the serfs, which were poor and had no power. At this time, people were getting poor and poorer, and people were losing resources while the rich people were gaining resources, and they were celebrating every day. 1914, Russia entered World War One when Tsar Nicholas II sent peasants who had no military training and no supplies. And of course, millions of people died. In 1917, peasants and workers began protesting for more rights because they were starving, they were cold, they had no rights. Tsar Nicholas II gave up his throne because of brave citizens that protested every day, going through Bloody Sunday, going through different type of hardship. Tsar Nicholas II finally gave up his throne. In 1917, Vladimir Lenin and the Bolshevik took over the government and had Tsar Nicholas II and his whole family executed. And of course, Vladimir Lenin saw what was going on in Russia and really liked the communist idea and decided to bring communism to Russia. He promised everybody that everything is going to be equal, rich and poor is going to be equal. But we understand that is not the case because we're looking at North Korea, prime example of dictatorship and communist country. They're not living a good life. The leader controls everything, government controls everything, and people have no rights. And that is exactly what happened in Russia after Vladimir Lenin. They went from a dictator to another dictator, which is very important. I will repeat one more time. They went from a dictator to another dictator. So 1922, Russia became Soviet Union, communist country with a dictator. So went from Tsar Nicholas II, a dictator, to Vladimir Lenin, another dictator. I'll move on. Now we're talking about rise of Nazism. So we need to connect the dot. So we're going back to Treaty of Versailles of the four things that Germans had to do that made them mad. Of course, they had to lose land. They had to lose money. They had to take blame for things they didn't do. And lastly, now they're thinking, why do I have to do all this? We need a strong leader. We can't be pushed around. We can't be, just bossed around by these countries. And Adolf Hitler was that leader that Germany was looking for at this time. 1919, Germany forced to sign Treaty of Versailles, and it angered Hitler and a lot of German. Reparation caused Germany to enter into depression. I even showed you guys that $3.2 trillion equal $1. Meaning for you to buy a one Snicker bar that is $1.50, in Germany, it will cost $6.4 trillion. And for kids to carry $6.4 trillion is impossible, meaning money became worthless. Now, 1929, Germany economic depression worsened after United States stock market crashed because Germany was dependent on United States resources. But now depression spreads worldwide, and Germany took Hitler and Nazis' advice of rebuilding Germany. Now, of course, key word, Germany, Hitler and the Nazi used propaganda to manipulate people. They made sure that people understand that if you vote for Hitler, if you follow Hitler, the country is going to be good. I showed you some example of propaganda of how these kids were literally praying to Hitler because of the fact that if they didn't pray for Hitler, they would not get food. But if they pray for Hitler, they will manipulate the kids to believe that they would get food. So it was a lot of manipulation going. They were using propaganda to really, really destroy German people's mind. Now, 1932, Nazi Party wins, and they got the majority votes of Germany government. 1933, Hitler, it becomes the chancellor, which is equivalent to president, and he became the dictator. He decided nobody should be running against me. He hired secret police to, spy over people, making sure that they don't rise up and try to kill him or take over. But Hitler and the Nazi Party became really big. And Hitler at one point wanted all Aryan race to dominate the world. So if you were not white, blonde hair, and blue eyes, Hitler would look at you as enemy and you should die. So now Hitler started to use more propaganda of not only pro-Nazi propaganda, so people joined Nazi, but people started using anti-Semitism propaganda, which is, again, anti-Semitism is a definition, means hate against Jews. So now you will see a lot of posters saying Jews are germ, Jews are bad, and things like that. And Hitler really wanted people to know that Jews are not good for the world. And Hitler and the Nazi invaded Poland, started World War II. And of course, Holocaust was going on during this time because people now was prejudice against Jews. They hated Jews. So gas chambers, sending them to concentration camp. It was a very messed up time in life. 1945, Germany was defeated by Ally. Hitler died, and Nazi symbol was outlawed. Holocaust ended, but 11 million people died, which killed 6 million Jews. All right. Next, Cold War. Now, this is the part that you guys weren't here, but you guys should have known. But Cold War was a battle between two superpower, United States and Soviet Union. It wasn't an actual battle, but it was more of a let me see who can be the big dog of this two battle. So United States wanted democracy and capitalism. Soviet Union wanted dictatorship and communism. United States saw Soviet Union as a big threat of the world being communist and ruled by one dictator. United States did not want that. United States wanted people to have power, people to have right to vote. Now, 1945 divided Germany into two. And can y'all follow me one more time? Because I know y'all forgot. West is the best, which is controlled by United States. Again, West is the best, controlled by United States. Understand West Germany was controlled by United States and East Germany was controlled by Soviet Union. Guys, I cannot make this any easier. I mean, y'all love that never eat soggy waffles. So I made a little jingle, but y'all can't remember. You know what? Let's move on. West Germany, again, best United States. East Germany, Soviet Union. Let's move on. All right, so British Prime Minister gives Iron Curtain speech basically saying the eastern side of the world is going on the worst side, which is joined by communism. Again, the west side is the best side, is what they said. The western side of Europe is preserved in democracy and people are educated and people are getting rights to vote. People are economically doing better. And British Prime Minister was really saying, we have this Iron Curtain, which is not a real curtain, not a real wall, but it was a figurative thing that says on the east side of this is bad and evil. There's communism. West side of this, there's democracy. Now, Soviet decide to put a blockade in Berlin and United Kingdom, and United States begin Berlin airlift, where United States starts to drop chocolate, some resources, of course, some propaganda, so that German people know that hope is coming and they're there for their help. Like they're going to help Germany becomes one together. Now, 1949, NATO was formed by democratic country, and United States, Canada, and Western European country decided to say, let's all become one and fight against nuclear war and stop communism. Unfortunately, Cold War continued. Russia, or should I say Soviet Union at that time, did not care about the fact that citizens were suffering. They just wanted to win this Cold War. They wanted to produce way more powerful weapon than United States. They wanted to go to space before United States. They wanted to show the world that they are the superpower. Unfortunately, 1961, Soviet built Berlin Wall in capital of Germany to keep their East Berliner to flee to the West Berlin for better life. Because again, West is the best. They live a better life. So the Eastern people are crossing over to West to find better life. Unfortunately, they had to put a stop in that, because Soviet Union did not like that. They put a Berlin Wall, and that Berlin Wall became a symbol for communism, and it became symbol for hate, and it became symbol of separatism, because across that wall there are family that they live with across few years, across their lifetime, but because of this wall, it's a separation between communism and democracy, a good life to worse life. But again, let me ask you this. If you're with parents, please ask your kid this question. Which country controlled Eastern Germany? If your answer was not Soviet Union, you better watch this video full time. All right. Now, Berlin Wall falls, Germany becomes reunified into one country, a democratic country that, of course, they reunited with the West. 1989 to 1991, protests began in other Soviet-controlled Eastern European country, and they really want communism to be gone as a whole thing. 1991, Soviet Union collapsed because obviously their economic was going down, down, down. They were not making money, and space race and arm race was meaningless when there's no worker, there's no people that is willing to die for you. So Soviet Union collapsed, and Gorbachev decides to give more freedom to people, make business more open, and for the first time, let's go ahead and vote in Russia. Now, there's more notes for you guys, just for you guys to really, really grab some of these concepts. So I'm going to go through them quickly. You can, of course, pause it, write them down, take picture. But these are more notes that we might have not went over in class. Just detail notes, all right? So to start with, it talks about who, what, when, where, and why for Russian Revolution. Make sure you know. Russian Revolution was between Bolshevik Vladimir Lenin and Tsar Nicholas II, right? And Bolshevik was led by Vladimir Lenin, which overthrew Tsar Nicholas II, and he brought communism to Russia. When 1917 to 1919 in Russia, because Russian citizens did not want to pay tax on the war, they were poor and rich people were getting more money, and they wanted to stop Russia participation in World War One, and they wanted equal rights. And unfortunately, Vladimir Lenin became also a dictator. So we changed from a dictator to another dictator, which was very unfortunate. Now, this is Russian Revolution. I'm just going to stop and pause this. I'm not going to read this because it's going to make this, PowerPoint very long. But if you're parents and you're next to your kids, you can definitely tell them to read this out loud and explain what Russian Revolution means. All right, I'll move on. This is just a timeline for Russian Revolution. Started from Tsar Nicholas II becoming the last monarch, and then Bloody Sunday, and then of course Russia entered World War One. Then Tsar Nicholas II abdicated, meaning left the throne. 1917, Lenin and Bolshevik took power of Russia government. In 1922, Lenin made Soviet Union and communism. Now, Russian Revolution summary questions. How did World War One how did World War One help cause the Russian Revolution? The fact that Tsar Nicholas II decided to go to war, that citizens did not want to participate, and all the resources were going into war, regardless of how suffering their citizens were going through. They didn't care, and that is why Russian Revolution was happening, because of the fact that they wasted resources in World War One. Now, who are the Bolshevik and how did they rise to power? Bolshevik was led by Vladimir Lenin. They're a communist party. They rose by power because people were sick of Tsar Nicholas II and their corrupt government. Lenin, who was Lenin? Lenin was a Bolshevik leader that studied the way of how communism was working overseas with, Karl Marx and stuff like that. So he wanted to bring communism into Russia, and he did. He became a dictator after killing Tsar Nicholas II and his whole family. Now, number 4, why was there a rise in communism as a result in the Russian Revolution? Because of the fact that Bolshevik, led by Vladimir Lenin, changed the country into Soviet Union, and he changed the type of the government to communism. That is why. If you didn't know the first 4 questions, please, again, make sure you watch this video one more time. All right, move on. Right there. All right, I'll pause. Go ahead and go over this. Treaty of Versailles. It shows a lot of who, what, when, where, why, but I don't even want to talk about this. What we really need to focus is the 4th thing of Treaty of Versailles, is the why Treaty of Versailles was going on, and the 4th thing that German was blamed for. So Treaty of Versailles happened because World War One, ended, and Germany had to take blame for the war. France wanted to really punish Germany hard. And first was they had to take blame for the war. They had to pay 33 billion. They had to lose 1 million square land, and they had to lose military. Now, German people are angry because why do we have to be blamed for the war we didn't start? Why do we have to pay 33 billion? We're broke right now. Why are we giving lands that is ours? And you're telling me now we can't protect ourselves? I bet we're going to go to the mustache man. And that is why Germans were angry at Treaty of Versailles. Worldwide Great Depression, of course, United States stock market crash, and a lot of country that was dependent on United States began to crumble. And because of the Treaty of Versailles caused Germany to pay for war, but they did not have money. Europe relied heavily on United States, and stock market in USA crashed, meaning everybody in the world was struggling. Next. Discussion question. What was the Treaty of Versailles? When was the treaty put in place? What was the purpose of treaty? What impact did treaty have on Germany? I just want y'all to focus on just a few things. Oh my goodness. You guys don't need to focus on any of that. Again, this is World War I document. I want you guys to read this and try to explain what this thing is talking about with your parents or even by yourself. Write it on a paper. Matter of fact, I'll give you a bonus point. If you come to school on the test day, so because I'm very sure this is almost the end of video, so if you watch all the way here, that means you watched a lot of the video. If you're able to read this page right here and annotate, meaning just write some notes about this page, I will add 5 points on your test. 5 points. That's a lot. That's a lot. Matter of fact, since it's 2 page, you do both of them, I'm going to add 10. 10 points, okay? 10 points. Go ahead and do those 2 page, and I'll give you 10 points. I think it's fair. All right? Pause, read, write down some notes, show it to me on the test day, and I'll give you 10 bonus points. World War I discussion question. Oh, yeah. You need to make sure you answer this 5 question, though, reading those 2 pages for the 10 actual point. So if you write notes or whatever, you're going to get 5 points. But if you write the discussion question and answer the discussion question, I'll give you 10 points, okay? All right. And this talks about Great Depression. It's another note that you can definitely pause and read. And rise of Nazism, again, Germans were angry because of the fact of Treaty of Versailles, and they needed stronger leader, which Hitler decided to manipulate people with using propaganda, and people started wanting to become Nazi more with pro-Nazi propaganda, highlighting that, ooh, Nazi is good, and they started using anti-Semitism in their propaganda, which meant Jews are bad. Now, of course, here's 4 questions that you can answer. And here's a page that you can read, definitely, annotate. Holocaust was an event where 6 million Jews died and 11 million just people died. Horrible genocides of people because of the fact that Hitler wanted Aryan-dominated world. Hitler thought that it was German against the world. So he started killing a lot of Jews, 6 million Jews, and he used propaganda again. He used propaganda and he used anti-Semitism. Again, anti-Semitism mean hate against Jew. Anti mean no. Hate against Jew, no Jews. Here's a 4 discussion question as well. Go ahead and read it. And that goes over World War II and the Holocaust. And I think there's one more page that goes over Holocaust. Yep. And then Cold War. Cold War was a fight, not physical, but really to show who was dominating over each. It was between Soviet Union and United States, trying to see, is the world going to be communism or is the world going to be democracy? So it was US versus Soviet Union trying to see who's going to control the world. And of course, they did this by going into space race and arm race to see space race, who has better technology, who can reach the space first. Arm race, who can make a weapon of mass destruction that's stronger to destroy the whole world. What a mess up world. But that's literally what they did. They were just making weapons enough so that they can literally destroy the world, destroy each other, to show the world that who is the big dog of this whole war. Now, of course, it talks about some 4 discussion question. Go ahead, pause, answer those. And Berlin Wall. Again, Western side is the better side that is controlled by United States. Eastern side is controlled by Soviet Union and is the worser side. Now, the Eastern Communist government, which was controlled by Soviet Union, did not want people to leave from East Berlin to West Berlin. So people from Soviet Union built the wall so that people cannot cross over to West. Of course, people in the West wanted to reunite with East and reunite with people, but communist East did not want that. Berlin Wall was a strong symbol for communism and strong symbol for, separatism. So people wanted that wall to break. And that wall broke down. It was a huge memory and huge moment for democracy and Germany as a whole. And again, you guys can see the actual Berlin Wall in Suwannee. Go to Suwannee City Hall and you will be able to see the actual historical artifact of Berlin Wall. And here's Cold War. Again, pause and you can read. It's a lot of reading. You can pause and read. And Cold War discussion question 1 through 6. Matter of fact, I will add this too. If you do this, this is another 5 points. So 15. I'm giving you a chance to win 15 full bonus points. I'm also going to post this slides on my e-class and Google Classroom so that you guys have access to this as well. And matter of fact, that's it. It was a long time. It really was a long note session. I did want to go more into detail. It would have been, I'm not sure how long I just talked for. It really could have been 30 minutes, 20 more minutes, but I decided, let me go ahead and talk less and let you guys pause and really just take this time to study. Good time for you, really. I want you guys to take this time. You guys have 4 days at home. Take this time, study, but also take this time to really think about, have I done a good job this semester? Is there a little more improvement I can do? I mean, there's only a month and a half left until first semester is over. So if there's any change that you guys are going to make, it has to be now. So think about it yourself. A lot of you guys, I am so proud of you. I already see a lot of growth in y'all. And that is all I care about. The growth every day, the small W that you guys get, the big W that you guys get, the growth and the improvement, not only academically, but socially, mentally, and y'all as a human being, a good person, really make me proud and happy and honored to be your teacher. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Have a great rest of your day. DLD life. Have a good day, man. Relax. I'll see y'all later.